Hello ladies and gents, Teo here, back with more Ever17. Now, I spent the last 2 days or so pondering how we can make the dates work, and I'm at more or less a dead end. Don't have any big ideas, don't have any crazy ideas. I mean, I have some crazy ideas, but I suspect most of them are wrong. In fact, I suspect all of them are wrong. And I said most of them out loud in the previous video, so there's no particular need to repeat myself. So, I'm just gonna go keep going forward, keep thinking, keep being very, very confused. As she shouted this, you fled from the security office. Not you. Sarah followed after her. Sora and I remained behind. Did you understand? No, not even a little bit. As I said before, when I searched the database for the name Yoichi Tanaka, the data which I can access had no records. However, the chat log that appears to be 15 years old, it seems to indicate that Yukie Tanaka had a husband named Yoichi. Wait, same name? Are those umlauts intentional? Is it like an issue with the translation patch? Or are those like slightly different pronunciations? Is it like the long O versus the short O? Are they like two different people or the same people? See, that's a little bit annoying when like the low quality of the translation is getting in the way of my ability to solve the mystery, because I don't know if that umlaut is on purpose or not. Judging from the context of the document, I conjecture that if Yoichi had died 19 years before that, it would mean 34 years before now. Okay, so it's the same name, presumably. Based on, like, context. I mean, 34 years before now. Yeah, nope, still doesn't make any sense. But the name Yoichi Tanaka doesn't appear in any of the other data. Why is it only here? I can only speculate from my limited knowledge. All records related to Yoichi Tanaka were erased for a reason. Please read the 14th and 15th line of this log one more time. What? Oh, you mean you didn't know? Is that so? The flow of the conversation seems unnatural. Oh, interesting, so there's lines that are deleted. The plot thickens. Yes. Originally, there seems to have been some text between these lines. So you mean that someone erased part of it? From A's comments, it would appear so. But Yoichi's name was left in B's comments. Oh, I see. It's because it had an umlaut. Okay, so the typo was intentional, but it was referring to the same name both times. This doesn't look plot relevant. So probably what happened is when the computer was searching, it automatically looked for Yoichi in Japanese and spelled in English, erasing all of them. However, B's comments were overlooked for some reason. And her comments had Yoichi's name spelled differently. Correct. So I tried to look for other similar comments by B. It appears that Mrs. B had a habit of using abbreviated words, and spelling words in her own way in her communications with friends. I mean, if you think you're going to be the target of a, like, search and replace censorship attack, then I suppose that's a reasonable way to live your life. So I should just like start replacing all the O's in my own personal communication going forward with O's with umlauts on them. Be like the paranoid guy with the tinfoil hat. I feel like any competent IT department, if they were trying to like censor this information, would like catch that, right? I don't know, maybe not. It feels like weird enough that, I don't know, not being a professional in the field of finding words, I can't say whether that's like one of the first things that you would consider here. I assume it would be. Like, you would think to check other scripts, but I guess it's not as easy as I make it sound though, right? Because you have to there's like a lot of scripts you have to check, and it's not even just things that are coded as O's, right? It's not just like O's with umlauts on them, but it's like any sort of circular O-shaped character. I think there's actually a problem Reddit's been having recently, is there are spam bots that use characters from other alphabets that look, for all intents and purposes, identical to, like, English letters. Like, there's a circular character that's indistinguishable from an O, and they can use it to get past spam filters. So, I guess this is not a problem that is easily surmounted. But I digress. It seems to be a style particular to her. There are numerous examples of her writing things such as see you later or before for before. As she spoke, Sora pulled up samples of correspondences. But do you think that Yu is alright? Well, Sarah went after her, but I'm still kind of worried about her. I wonder if I shouldn't have told her after all. No, you did right. No matter what the facts are, that is what you wanted to know and you told her. Yu knows that. She's tough. She can take it. You know her well. No, not really. I mean, yeah, no, not really. We've known her for, what, 72 hours now? Like, maybe a little longer? I feel like that's not really enough time to get to know a person on any sort of meaningful level, but then again, I've never been trapped in an underwater facility with somebody for 3 days before, so what do I know? My face started to flush. I started to fidget uncomfortably. Don't you think you best go see how she's doing? Yeah, I will. Now we'll get back to the work that I was in the middle of. Oh, Sora, wait, there's one more thing. Yes? What is it? I just wanted to say, thanks for everything. Sora's cheeks seemed to redden just a bit as she smiled shyly. I only did what is expected of me, and if that makes everyone happy, then I know no greater joy. With the ultimate smile plastered on her face, Sora disappeared into the display. I left the now empty security office and went in search of you and the others. I tried to organize my thoughts as I looked for you. I realized there were 6 things I knew for sure. Wow, that's so many things. It's more things than I know. 1. Yu's father, Yoichi Tanaka, had apparently died 34 years before. And Yu's mother, Yukie Tanaka, had died 15 years before. Yu had heard from her mother that Yoichi had disappeared 17 years before. Yu's mother was still researching archaeology at Limu. From the written records of A and B, I knew that Yoichi and Yukie had a daughter. Last, both of her parents' deaths had something to do with the Tiefblau virus. Wait. What? Was that, like, in the correspondences, and I just forgot, or is this new information? Oh, Tiefblau, okay. So we don't know details about Tiefblau, but that at least is not new information. I wonder what we could possibly find out about these facts. As I was walking the corridor, Sarah suddenly appeared from around a corner. Hey, kid, where's you? Sarah shook her head. She told me she wanted to be alone. I see. I wonder what I should do. Kid, maybe you could go keep her company? Isn't that, like, literally the opposite of what she just said? She's like, I want to be alone. Wait, you should send a person in. Like, no, that's... I mean, yes, but... Man, people are annoying. Complicated. This is why I sit in my bedroom and play video games all day. Of course I will. But I wonder what I should do. Go and cheer her up. Huh? I thought you said she wanted to be alone. See, kids on my wavelength. It's exactly when a guy needs to go to a girl and give her a shoulder to cry on. It's a antiquated worldview, but sure. But you went and it didn't help, right? I mean, under her definition, needs to be a guy, right? We're different. I'm a girl, you're a boy. Got it? It shouldn't matter. Listen, no matter how much a girl pretends to be strong, she's always waiting. For what? It's obvious, isn't it? Hmm? A hero who comes to save her. Wow, that's hella misogynistic. Say what? I was astounded. Waiting and waiting and waiting. Waiting for our knights in shining armor. Are we in, like, the 15th century or something? I'm very confused. That's just the way that girls are. Done by the conversation, I tried to argue. No hero, and I'm sure not a knight. Wait, that's the part that you take offense to? Like... What? Who said they liked the name Prince anyway? Did you forget about that already? Maybe you just don't like you. That's a stupid thing to say. Go to her. Sarah pointed down the corridor. Wait, do I get a vote? I vote we, like, abandon you. Wait, I think I changed my mind about her. I originally didn't like her and then I liked her. I can't even remember anymore. Oh, alright. Worn down by the powers of Sarah's persuasion, I gave in. But just let me ask you one more thing. Why me? If it has to be a guy, why not Takeshi? Have you met him? Because it's settled. Huh? I decided, because I like you better. How, thanks for the vote of confidence, I guess? I don't have many favorites, so count yourself lucky. Oh, but I do. Sarah let out a defiant laugh. Listen up so you don't get lost. Sarah told me where Yu was and I went to find her. I spotted Yu's back from behind the merry-go-round. She was looking down. She was sitting, her hand clutching the ride. You... Calling out to her, I went closer. You turned her face toward me and gave me an agonized look and spoke. Please, don't talk to me right now. Stay away from me. Something isn't right with me right now. I might say something awful. I can't leave you alone. It was the honest truth. I sat down near you. I spoke exactly what came into my mind. I remember what you said when we first met. You said, I am you. I am you. You are me. We're the same. You're not alone. I was no knight in shining armor, and there wasn't much I could do by myself. So don't struggle with this alone. Let's think through it together. But I thought that we could get through it together. Kid, I nodded firmly. So, what do we know so far? That my dad might be dead. But that can't be true, because it happened 17 years before what my mom told me. And it was 16 years before I was born. And it's not all, is it? No, there's more! My mom might already be dead, too! It can't be! How could it? It doesn't make any sense! 15 years ago, when I was 3, before I was even aware of anything. Wait, wasn't it you who had the ability to, like, retain memories perfectly from her childhood? I feel like someone in this work mentioned that. But I can't remember. I saw my mom running around just fine right before I came here. That's what you said. It's not just what I said, it's a fact. What in the world? I don't know what's right or wrong anymore. Yeah, you and me both, fam. So who raised me all this time? Who was my real father? Where'd he go? I just don't know anymore. Like a dam bursting, you spewed out all of the bad feelings that had been brewing inside of her. Wait, just calm down. I'm calm enough. You're losing your composure and ability to judge. I'm always composed! You ready? The answer is clear. Whereabouts of my father have been unknown since he disappeared 17 years ago, but today he's alive somewhere. My mom's alive too. She's at home waiting for me. This is the truth, and it's unchangeable, so I don't have to prove it. Look, you're jumping to conclusions. Shut up! You're as messed up as Lima is. Idiot. You're the one who's messed up. What'd you just say? You're pretty smart, right? Well, which one is it? And I thought you were strong. This is, like, not super great support, I feel like. I feel like there's a better way to approach the situation. You were the one who said that your knowledge wasn't for defense, it was for offense. It was the first time that I've ever met a girl who said anything like that. I never thought you'd be weak like this. So why are you acting like this now? Come on, let's just be logical and think this through one point at a time. I mean, I think you're allowed to, like, have a few gaps in your logic when you have just found out that your parents are probably both dead and have been for 2 decades and you didn't know about it. Like, I feel like that's defensible, right? I don't know. Like, if I found out that my parents were not only dead, but had also been dead for the past 1.5 to 3 decades, I would be a little put out. And, like, logic and reasoning would not necessarily be at the forefront of my, behavior patterns. The way you always do. The reason you're confused is the information is conflicting, right? Because you think that part of it can't be right. So let's start by sorting fact from fiction, beginning with what you know. You know a lot about a lot of things. You have the materials in your head to sort this thing out. You out of anyone should be able to tell what is a lie. Right? You turned her eyes away from me. She bit down hard on her lip. She finally looked down and closed her eyes as if she were thinking. I could tell that she was trying hard to accept the possibility that maybe the facts might be true. You're right. I don't know what was wrong with me. Finally, you lifted her face. I don't know what was the matter with me. I'm sorry. You gave a little nod. Alright. Finally, it was time to start deducing things. Oh baby. We decided to start breaking things down with the things that were clear. Like, what was T-Flow or TB? You explained that it was a malignant virus that had an extremely high death rate, which had ravaged the world in the past. Oh, this is new information. Interesting. She said that it was first discovered more than 30 years before. So time-wise, there was nothing strange if her father had died of TB 34 years ago and her mother died 15 years ago. Furthermore, the world was now free of TB, and a decade earlier the World Health Organization had officially declared the disease eradicated. Okay, so that still fits our timeline. But you didn't know What you didn't know was when her parents were supposed to have died. You didn't know what she was to make of this information since it was 16 years before she was born. And the mother that had raised her. She said that she had seen her face just the other day, but she was supposed to have died 15 years ago. Oh, okay, so it might be, like, an adoptive mother who took on Yukie's name, though? Like, from, like, a logical standpoint, it makes sense. But from a, like, emotional standpoint, like, what's the motive there? We figured that there were 4 possibilities. 1, Yoichi was not actually dead, but only disappeared 17 years before, and Yukie was still alive. 2, Yoichi had not actually died, but only disappeared 17 years before. However, Yukie had passed away 15 years before. 3, Yoichi had died 34 years before, but Yukie was still alive and well. Or, Yoichi had died 34 years before, and Yukie 15 years before. This... I mean, it looks like it covers all the options, right? It's either dad alive, dad dead, crossed with mom alive, mom dead. But I don't know if I'm 100% on board with this sort of harsh reliance on the dates provided. Like, some of these options already take into account, or are, like, sort of relying on the information from the computer being wrong, right? So if we're willing to accept that as, like, a premise in some of our options, then shouldn't we be willing to accept the premise that one or both of the parents died, but not the correct number of years ago? I guess it's not super pertinent to our discussion, maybe? Like, parent being alive and parent having died but not in the method that the computer said they did is, like, sort of functionally equivalent for what we have the basis for logic for, if that makes sense. Like, as far as we are going in terms of, like, evaluating the legitimacy of what the computer is telling us. We didn't know which was truth and which was fiction. It was incredibly confusing. We decided to consider the possibilities one by one. The theories were based on information from the following 4 sources. A file compiled by Sora concerning the death of Yukie Tanaka. B, a chat log from A and B, the only source of information about Yoichi's death. C, what Yu's mom had told her, the only source of information about Yoichi's disappearance. And D, the existence of Yu's mom. We moved to the security office and checked the file concerning the death of Yukie Tanaka again. With as much evidence as there was in the file, it looked like Yukie's death was indeed a fact. We set aside the question of whether she were actually Yu's real mother for the time being. We were able to narrow it down to possibilities 2 and 4. 2, Yoichi had not actually died, but only disappeared 17 years before. However, Yukie had passed away 15 years before. Or 4, Yoichi had died 34 years before, and Yukie 15 years before. We deduced that that would mean that if Yukie were dead, that would mean that Yu's mother had been lying to her all those years. Possible. We didn't bother ourselves about the possibility of 2 women having the same name. Hey now! I was, like, legitimately considering that possibility. If we could determine that Yukie was lying, then the reliability of her information about Yoichi's disappearance would drop dramatically. Yoichi's disappearance would, that would strongly boost the possibility that the 4th theory was right. 4, Yoichi had died 34 years before and Yukie 15 years before. That would mean that both of them are... No, I said wait, quit jumping to conclusions. But, you're so impatient. We're still trying to sort this out, right? Just then, the lights started flickering on and off. Uh-oh. See? The lights agree with me. That's one way to look on the bright side. No pun intended. I promise that wasn't on purpose. Whoa! The lights went out. Maybe they're agreeing with me. Finally, they flashed back on. Okay, so I was about to, like, just continue on and overwrite that, but that's probably important, right? Like, if the generator is dying again, then, we should probably be deeply concerned for our ability to continue being alive. Right? It's not super crucial, but generator out means we lose Sora, which is definitely unfortunate. We lose the elevators, at least in some capacity. Like, it's very difficult to make the elevators go up, if not down. What else do we lose with no generators? We lose, like, all the computers. What else? And then also, just besides the loss of power itself, the reason for the loss of power is almost as concerning as the loss of power. Right? Because last time it was because, like, the generator room was, like, full of steam, right? And it, like, all explodey. And if that's happening again, though, like, presumably the last time we were in the generator room, we did a fairly good job of fixing all the stuff that was broken, right? Which means that if the generator is going down again, it feels really difficult to write it off as a coincidence. Which means that if the generator is going, then we have to start being suspicious of the, like, entire cast again. I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore. Seems like the lights are in bad shape. Sure does. Although maybe it's just, like, the pressure is increasing again, and, like, the generator room is, like, collapsing, which, in which case we have, like, much larger problems on our hands. Sure does. I wonder if it's another blackout. Are we gonna have to make repairs again? Well, I don't want to either. This time, should we have Takeshi fix it himself? That'd be pretty low. The light conversation seemed to lift Yu's spirits. Okay, then. I heard a voice far off. Hey, you! Where are you? What's that? Is that Takeshi? Sounds like he's looking for you. Hey, Takeshi! I'm over here! After a bit, Takeshi appeared. Here you are. I looked all over for you. Oh, and there's the kid, too. You two sure seem to be together a lot recently. I don't know about that. What, are you jealous? Nope, not a bit. What? Well, you should be. Alright, I'm jealous then. This will blow your mind, but actually, me and the kid are dating. Wait, I don't recall being consulted on this decision. Whoa. What? Really? No. I'm not touching that. I shook my head vigorously. No way, that absolutely blows my mind. Okay, I'll stop pretending to be surprised now. Hey, don't interrupt me. I'm supposed to give the punchline. I know what's coming next. I'm kidding, it's a joke, right? Yep. Alright, enough of that. Let's get back on topic. Alright. And, what was it you came for? I'm gonna go make some repairs on the generator. You wanna help? Repair the generator? Don't believe this. Are you saying there's been a blackout again? I didn't believe it. No, it's not that serious, but the generator isn't in the best of shape. Yeah, the lights did just go out a little bit ago. See? Well, it's no big deal, but I've got to do some maintenance. Sora's orders. I see. Will you help? Sure, I suppose. It seemed that Yu still wasn't back to normal. I could tell that she was just pretending she was fine. I thought that if I let her go to make repairs in this state of mind, she might get hurt. Hey, Takeshi, I'll go with you to do the repairs. What, you ill, kid? Looks like Yu is a bit worn out. But you don't know a thing about machines, right? You'll be fine, I'll try hard. Elbow grease, you know. So let me help. My desperate attempt at persuasion succeeded and I had to help. We started the work after lunch. But... What? Ouch! Takeshi, that hurts! You can take it. You're a man, after all. Takeshi grinned sadistically as he patted my right arm, which was supported by a cast. The cast was made of a specially formulated plastic. It was lighter than I had expected and not too cumbersome. Wait, why do we have a cast? What happened to our arm? Takeshi had put the cast on me with instructions from Sora. Sora said she had something else to do and left the work to Takeshi. Wow, that dive you took was really something else. Pretty impressive stuff. Be quiet. Told you, my leg slipped. You're the one that forced the tools on me. Don't try to pin this on me. Never said to bring the tools along. You're the one that jumped off without anything. We need to make repairs again, then we'll need the tools, so I left them there. Takeshi was making excuses. Okay, fine. It was all my stupid fault. I looked at the cast wrapped around my right arm. While we were repairing the generator, I had lost my balance holding the heavy toolbox and fallen off the machine. Well, don't get down about it. Sora said it's a clean break, so you'll be back in business in no time. Easy for you to say. Alright, now it's time. Takeshi took a transparent object that could easily be mistaken for a gun at a glance. It was a syringe used to inject a cartridge filled with a cocktail of antibiotics, fever medicines, painkillers, and vitamins. Give me your arm. Takeshi put the needle against my left arm. It turned to night. Dinner time rolled around. Just like always, we filled our empty bellies with chicken sandwiches made by Takeshi. We wanted a change of pace, to do something fun, so we spread out in a blanket in the park's rest area. Wait, how do you spread out a blanket in the rest area? It's like covered in water. It sounds miserable. We thought it'd be kind of nice to put us in a picnic mood. The blanket was from a shop stocking them on the same floor, so it had Limu's Mumyun label printed on it. Sora couldn't eat, but she sat with us, smiling just the same. It seemed like that was fun for her. Sarah had just gone to get more drinks from the kiosk. Yu wasn't around. She didn't feel well and was resting in the infirmary. So Sarah was going to take her a sandwich later. As if by drawn by the scent, Tsugumi appeared. As if she didn't notice or didn't care, Tsugumi parked herself on Mumyun's face and started munching a sandwich. Of course, Takeshi started complaining, but Tsugumi just ignored him. She simply sat there eating and drinking by herself. I stared at her absent-mindedly. I wondered if I were still stuck on those words. On the 7th, you will die. Ever since then, Tsugumi had left me mostly alone. I wondered what she was thinking about just then. I was mulling that when... Kah! All of a sudden, Sarah screamed from the direction of the kiosk. Rat! There's a rat! Hearing that, Takeshi forgot about Tsugumi for an instant and ran to the kiosk. Sora and I followed him. How the hell does a rat get in here? Some of the food in boxes in the kiosk had been damaged. Whoa, what a mess! Looks like these are totally damaged. I wonder if the hot dogs were the work of the rat, too. Huh? But those were in the fridge. She was right. The stuff in the fridge was fine. It looked like we were in no immediate danger of starving. Still, I'm surprised there are rats in Limu. Yeah, me too. Takeshi, our de facto cook, was livid. Like, I feel like having a underwater facility, like one of the few upsides is that you don't have to worry about rats. But I guess not necessarily, right? Because you still need to bring in the food somehow so the rats can store away in cartons and crates and whatnot. Of course, that's if this is like actually a rat. Like, it didn't give me enough detail about the damage for me to, like, properly assess the situation, but my gut is telling me that it's not literally a rat. He was so mad he couldn't speak. His face went bright red and his whole body shook with anger. Ah! Tsugumi was enjoying it, though. What's so funny? Why his face? Of course. She pointed at Takeshi as she said this. Takeshi snapped. That lousy rodent, piss me off. If I catch that rat, I'm gonna feed him to the fish outside. So a raging Takeshi set about trying to rig up a trap to catch the rat. And he ended up making me help him to try to design and set it up. Going along with him was the only way to calm him down. Somehow I was able to help him, using my one good arm to cover for my lame one. The trap he tried to make was a useless contraption pieced together from stuff in the warehouse. I won't go to the pain of trying to describe it. We didn't finish until the middle of the night. My mind and body were both worn out. I headed to where Yu was. Okay, so it might have actually been a rat, like a literal rat. I was just trying to think about from like a macro perspective why you would insert that scene in the middle of the story, especially now that we're starting to get to sort of middle to end game stuff for the root, I assume, based on like the sort of seriousness of both the general contents and the mystery elements pertaining to the heroine. Like, I would be surprised if there was too much more of Yu's root left. Of course, again, I don't have any firm evidence there, and I'm prepared to be just completely wrong. But it feels like either this is, like, one of them pacing problems everyone keeps telling me about in regards to Ever17, or there are sort of two possibilities for, not pacing problem necessarily, but just, like, a pointless scene, like, you know, slice of life stuff, character building, what have you. Like, there's sort of two explanations I can think of, well, three, although I don't like the third one. Because the first explanation I can think of is, again, there is somebody on Limu who is actively working against our interests and it's not literally a rat that messed with our food supply, right? Like, if there is... I'm just going to keep calling them a terrorist, because it's funnier that way. Like, if there is a terrorist down here, then there's, I guess, non-zero value in attacking our food supply? I don't know. Again, I don't have a firm grasp on the motive for the terrorist yet. So, assuming that there even is one, like, I don't know why they would attack our food supply. Second possibility is they needed it to be nighttime for some reason, and that was just to pass the time, which is what it looks like now, given that it like immediately made a sort of note of the passage of time. And the third possibility is that there is both literally a rat, and the rat is somehow relevant to something in some capacity. Like, for example, the rat might be contributing to our living creature count. From earlier, right? Because we were at, it was like going between 5 and 7, and I don't know how a rat would be dodging the scan and messing with our numbers, but assuming that Coco's dog is not on Limu, we still have the 7th living creature unaccounted for, right? Like, the 7th living creature, in fact, pretty much all of my theories, like, account for the 7th person, right? Because it's either the rat or the terrorist. It could very well still be Coco's dog, because they made sort of a show of, or they made a point of showing off the dog in the first couple chapters. So the dog could easily be living creature number 7. But if it isn't the dog, then rat and terrorist are also, like, reasonable options. I headed to where Yi was. I was worried about her and wanted to touch base on the theories about her parents. Hey, there you are, kid. What, do you need something? Yeah, I've got a message for you from Nakyu. From you? I was just going to see her. I don't think she's in the infirmary. I think she headed out. Is she feeling better? Yep, she said she was feeling tons better. Oh, well, that's good. And? What's the message? Oh, yeah, it's, She said she's going to the place and you should come too. The place? She said you'd know what that meant. The place. So it's like the, what's it called? The Lemurian ruins, right? Did that mean... Hey! What? I don't know, but you seem to be doing alright for yourself. You're already sneaking dates at night and all. You sly guy, you. I didn't think I knew what she was talking about. The theory was half-baked. By the way, what trick did you use to calm her down? She fell for you in the blink of an eye, so you must be good. She didn't fall. I fell, and that's how I hurt my arm. Okay, kid, there's a limit to how deadpan you're allowed to be, right? Like, it stops being funny after a certain point. And I don't know whether or not we've reached that point yet, but we're at least approaching it. Oh, I see now. You're playing dumb. Come on, just tell me a little. What you said, or what you did. Or I guess to hear the juicy details you have to be over 18, maybe. What was she talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I just gave her a helping hand. What? You skipped first base? Huh? And? Come on, it's okay. I won't tell anyone else. You don't want to tell me? I thought it was risky to continue the conversation and decided to take a hint from history and see no more, speak no more, hear no more. Sarah finally got the idea. I would like to speak with my lawyer. Ultimately, Sarah gave up, and since I figured that you was waiting for me, I started walking. I thought about what you meant by the place. I figured it was probably the Lemurian ruins. Just like I had the day before I visited the ruins. I figured I would find you there. It felt like I had traveled through time and opened the door to an ancient time. Speaking of time travel, you had scoffed at it, but I still hadn't given up on the theory. Yeah, me neither. I don't love it, but if we are doing a time travel story, then it is what it is. I feel like the foreshadowing hasn't been quite good enough to pull off heavy time travel elements, though. Like, it's really just the protagonist's, like, weird foresight. Like, for them to use time travel as a major plot point, I would want them to have set it up better by now. Like, I would want sort of Tsugumi to kind of in an ideal world. I don't know about an ideal world, but in a world where that twist is set up better, I would want like, Tsugumi to predict an event as well. Similar to how the kid is doing, just to reinforce that this is an actual, like, plot element. Whereas if it's just the kid doing it, you can explain it away any number of ways, right? You can explain it as just, like, he has really good intuition, or, I don't know, like, Sherlock Holmes level deduction, and he, like, saw, I don't know, the air shimmering around the handle. I don't know. But it just feels like... And there's also the possibility that there's been, like, more blatant foreshadowing that I've missed. Which is entirely possible. I am, of course, fallible and human. But under the assumption that I'm at least catching most of the foreshadowing, I don't think there's enough strong setup for time travel to play a major role in the events of the story. At least, not from what I've seen so far this arc. And it's certainly not outside of the question for them to foreshadow it better in other story arcs, in, like, other routes. And that would be reasonable, right? Because there's a true end that you can't get to until you have played all 4 of the sort of base routes. And if they spread the foreshadowing across the 4 routes, and then they have the time travel come up as a major plot element only in the true ending, that would be reasonable. But so far, at least in Yu's route, I don't think I've seen enough time travel that they could pull it off as a plot point yet. I think that's sort of where I stand on the matter, for the time being. It was the only one that made sense to me. I mean, yes, me too. And I'm not happy about it. There was no other way to explain things. I entered the ruins. I continued through the maze-like passages. Trying not to get lost, I racked my memory. Fortunately, I remembered the path I'd taken the day before. It was still fresh in my mind. It was like I had been through the area dozens of times. Finally, oh man! I like complain about them not giving me strong enough foreshadowing for time travel, and then they give me that, like, half-baked nonsense. Because, like, you can pass that off as foreshadowing for time travel, right? Like, especially if my theory from a video or 2 ago about the sort of 5 days or whatever before the implosion being, like, cyclical. So, like, sort of like a ReZero style thing. Then the line just now about having walked through the pyramid dozens of times. Like, yes, it counts as foreshadowing, but that's some weak... That is some weak... What's a noun I can put after weak? Sauce? Sauce sounds, like, reasonable, I guess, but there was a better noun that I was trying to think of. That is some weak... something. Whatever. It'll come to me in about 5 minutes, and then I'll feel dumb. So we'll go with sauce for now. That is some weak sauce. Finally. Hey there. I found you. She was in the same spot as the day before, the Sun Temple. And she was sitting on the same obelisk, sitting hugging her knees. I sat down next to her. You feel better now? Yeah, thanks to you. That's good to hear. You did a good job of finding this place again. It's the only place I could think of. That's not what I mean. I mean you remembered the route here. What are you talking about? You called me here, right? I mean, yes, but she's talking about, like, the fact that it's a maze, right? That's right. Don't tell me you thought I wouldn't be able to find my way back. Well, yeah. A blunt. I'm kidding, it's a joke. Tell you the truth, I just wanted to test you. Test? Me? Yep. I wanted to see if you could navigate the labyrinth, slay the evil dragon, and rescue the princess held captive here. To see whether the hero would show up or not. I wanted to test the knight in shining armor. Or maybe that's like the split between the good end and the bad end. Like, for the good end, you manage to get through the maze, and then if you don't have enough points, like if you haven't racked up enough affection or whatever, the metric that the game wants to call it, you, like, just get lost. That would be super funny. Like, I suspect that that isn't the case, but it would be really funny if it was. You heard that from Sarah, right? Right. And you're supposed to be the princess? Well, I don't want to sound full of myself, but... I'm going back. I stood up. Oh, you're mean! What, not good enough for you? It's not it at all. I just can't handle this kind of game right now. I'm completely worn out, and I've got this broken arm. Oh, your arm. You belatedly noticed my arm. Standing, I went to return on the road that I had used in coming. But you came after me. Hey, I said wait just a second. Leave me alone. All you want to do is talk about your stupid fantasies. I'd rather get some sleep. You got hurt trying to help me. It's a battle scar you can be proud of. I mean, that's certainly one way to interpret it. She just won't give up. As I was about to complain, you gently laid her hand on my hard cast. Does it still hurt? Only a little. I lied. Thanks to the medicine, it didn't really hurt at all. You want me to cast a spell on it for you? A spell? Yep, I learned it straight from my mom. It's guaranteed to work. My way of saying I'm sorry. You put both her hands on my casts, gently, as if enveloping it, and gently started rubbing it. I just stood there. I could feel the heat from her palms through the cast. As she gently stroked my arm, you started whispering. Chichin pui pui, pain go fly away to a galaxy far, far away. What am I reading? Chichin pui pui? How is it? Pain stopped, right? A galaxy far, far away. What? You got a problem with the charm? Yes. That'll be a yes, Captain. Nope. Nope! All of a sudden, I had a wild urge to laugh. It was something I never thought I'd hear come out of Yu's mouth. And it tickled incredibly. Yeah, looks like you completely fixed it. My irritation vanished. Oh, good. I hoped it would. We decided to go back to the hall. I'm glad that you came. And you found your way through the labyrinth to find me. Now all you have to do is rescue the princess. Right, White Knight? You just don't quit. Alright then, I guess I'm off to dispose of some evil dragon. Finally, I understood. The evil dragon that was holding you. It was Yu's past. And she needed to be saved. Listen, no matter how much a girl pretends to be strong, she's always waiting for the guy. I thought maybe even for me. Alright, now let's restart our detective work. Suddenly, I noticed a tart, refreshing aroma tickling my nose. Mixed, cutting through the mildew smell of the ruins. It was the scent of not yet ripened fruit. It was familiar. It smelled like the sun in spring. We decided to reorganize the information we had. Wait, is that foreshadowing? I'm super confused. Like, what was the point of that? And, like, it's possible that I've spent the last 10 minutes reading between the lines, like, way too hard. But that's what I do. Like, I feel like I have to, just because I'm so lost in any of the straightforward mystery stuff. I have to, like, go super deep in my between the lines reading to try and, like, eke out information that way. We thought about the data we had on her parents. Sora's files had Yu's mother, Yuki Tanaka, as dying 15 years ago. The company land had a chat log that had Yu's father, Yoichi Tanaka, as dying 34 years ago. However, Yu's mom had told her that her father had gone missing 17 years before. There were pictures and movies, but they could not be completely trusted as reliable. Yu had even said so herself. Although, if they're not reliable, then that begs some rather interesting questions, like, who the hell is going to all the effort to doctor childhood pictures and movies? And, like, I mean, the question isn't really who. Like, presumably it's, Lemurian Pharmaceutical. They're sort of the, you know, big faceless company. Or, like, that's sort of the role they have taken in the overarching story, as best I can tell. But the actual question is why? Like, who cares? What, like, again, what's the motive? I feel like a battler from Umineko. Gotta keep turning the chessboard. And what was most suspicious was the lady who Yu had always thought of as her mom. From what we could gather, the death of her parents, Yoichi and Yukie, were facts. That meant that her mother, or the lady who called herself that, could have been lying all along. Based on all the information, we narrowed it down to the two most likely possibilities. Although I guess if I'm on the, like, Limu conspiracy theory plan here, then the fact that the living mom is sharing the name makes sense because they're trying to, like, cover up the death, right? But assuming the deaths are actually because of this, TB virus, like, what is Limu's sort of... what's their motive for trying to cover that up? Like, there's two possibilities in there, assuming that the, like, Limu conspiracy theory is true. Either they actually died from this TB virus, and Limu wants to cover that up, or they died some other way, but Limu's, like, using multiple cover-ups? Because then they have, like, the internal cover-up of calling it the TB virus, and then they have the external cover-up of, like, pretending they're not even dead, like, purging the records and, like, giving, you a, like, fake mom? I don't know. Again, like, my problem with this, not with the game as a whole, but, like, with all of my current theories, is I just can't think of strong enough motives for anyone to do any of the, like, crazy stuff I need them to do to explain my theories, right? Like, there isn't enough at stake. And I guess you can fix that with time travel, because, like, obviously access to time travel is a pretty compelling motive, but, like, past that, like, the most exciting things I've seen in the story for people to care about so far are, like, a generator that's fueled by steam vents, like a supercomputer. Like, these are, like, kind of exciting, but not exciting enough to, like, have somebody pretend to be somebody else's mom for 2 decades and, like, stage an elaborate cover-up. I don't know. Again, like, the motives is just, like, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, the logistics are, like, sort of coming together. So that's something, I guess. So I have that going for me, which is nice. 4. Yoichi had died 34 years before, and Yuki 15 years before. Hey, I bet this is what happened. Assuming that your mom and dad did die in a fact, assuming that your mom and dad did die as a fact, then the person working at Limu, I mean, the person that you thought was your mom up to now, isn't your mom, but a foster parent? Yeah. Then your real dad could have died 34 years ago and your mom 15 years ago. Somebody took pity on an orphan daughter, took you in and raised you, but that doesn't explain the fake movies and pictures. Also, it doesn't explain how she was born in the first place, right? But that's impossible. Why? Because Yoichi Tanaka isn't my real father. I mean, it has to be true. He died 34 years ago, right? And I was born 18 years ago. To be precise, I was born on September 22nd, 19 years ago. In either case, my father would have had to have been alive until December of 20 years ago. I figured that was an area I didn't really know much about, so I held my tongue. But she was right, it did sound fishy. The question was how to fill in the missing years. No way. What? Nothing. What? Tell me. You can't start to say something and stop like that. Okay, so the fact that the kid has, a theory that he, like, likes enough where, like, the way the dialogue was structured just there, it makes me think that the theory that the kid is about to put forth is both crazy and also probably correct. Or at least has some correct elements in it. Which means that I should, in theory, have enough information to work my way through this right now. So, before I give up on this, like, sort of sub-mystery, let's try and think this through one more time. Because Kid has a theory right now that he thinks can explain the 20-year gap. Not only explain it, like, explain it satisfactorily. Not super satisfactorily, because he, like, second-guessed himself. But the second-guessing I can attribute to, like, the theory being, like, batshit, right? Or the theory being completely off the rails. But what is it? What, like, makes up a 20-year gap? I really hope he doesn't go for the time travel thing. Because that makes this entire mess this entire, like, incident a lot messier. And, like, it makes it a lot more difficult to theorize when there are time travel elements, but I don't know the rules governing them. Right? Like, I won't say it makes it fall apart as a mystery, but it certainly sort of loses a lot of mystery credentials and starts wandering into, like, hard sci-fi territory. Where I'm, like, I just don't have enough baseline information to solve anything. And the fact, I don't know. A 20-year gap, trying to come up with a solution, right? But I'm not thinking of anything, so let's see what the kid has for us. I don't think this could ever happen, but what if you were actually 33 years old? Oh yeah, I think I touched on that earlier, but yeah, I don't really like that theory, just because, like, they don't look old enough. Yeah, me, 33? You think with my skin I look like I could be in my 30s? I don't know how I'm supposed to answer this. Like, I recognize that it's not plot relevant, it's not on my flowchart here. But, like, is it a compliment to say that somebody looks like they could be in their 30s? No, it isn't, right? So, like, the nice answer is you don't look it. But then that discredits my theory, right? So, we have to ask ourselves, what's more important? Like, defending our theory, or, you know, cultivating a relationship with this individual? And, like, obviously we have to defend the theory, right? You look it. What? You don't look it. Right? Now, jokes aside, if I were 33 years old, then that would mean there was a 15-year gap in my memory. Where in the world could those 15 years have gone? Okay, so that was actually a theory I touched on in a previous video that I don't know why I had written off, because it was actually one of the more plausible ones, where when they have the accident in Limu, right, in the time between, like, probably in the infirmary, Kid goes to sleep, and Kid wakes up and finds out that everything has gone to shit. 15 years have somehow passed. Again, oh, right, now I remember why I wrote the theory off, because they were using the same sprites before and after. So you need some sort of additional sci-fi nonsense to pass them off as having been just, like, chilling there for 15 years. And also there hasn't been anything in the game so far that sort of hints that, like, cryostasis is a thing that exists in this setting. Right? So it's very difficult to justify a 15-year gap there. I've never had amnesia like you. Don't remember being abducted by aliens, and haven't had any Rip Van Winkle-like experiences either. Rip Van what? That would mean when I was 12, I was really 27? That couldn't be, right? Or that when I was 5, I was actually 20? That's even more impossible. No, it doesn't necessarily mean either of those things, right? Like, it could be when you arrived at Limu, right? That would also sort of explain why nobody's coming to help, right? Because it's been a decade and a half since the accident. Like, there's no reason for anyone to think that anyone's still down there, right? And even if they were, like, how the hell could they have stayed alive for the past decade and a half? And it also sort of explains why the comms are down. Just because probably the communication systems just went defunct after a decade and a half. What it doesn't explain is, like, the Kid is one thing. He has, like, serious amnesia. Sora is an AI, so you can mess with her memories sort of manually. But it still doesn't explain how the rest of the cast just doesn't know that 15 years have passed. So, while the theory is currently my frontrunner, I don't love it. Just because there's, like, so many things that aren't explained cleanly. In the 18 years and 7 months of my life, I've never once felt a gap of 15 years. A 15-year gap. Listen, sorry to stop you, but let's get back on topic. You were just talking about Rip Van Winkle, right? And? He falls asleep, and... Rip Van Winkle, he falls asleep, and when he returns home... Wait, they're really doing cryostasis? I got it! This is probably what happened. You probably traveled through time. Stop talking about these stupid theories of yours. But to explain everything, okay, so that was that you probably traveled through timeline was misattributed, I assume. So I like cryostasis better than time travel. I'm gonna be honest. Time travel, you fix the logistical issues, right? Because now you don't need an excuse for, like, presumably being put in cryostasis, you would notice something before or after, right? Like, usually under like most interpretations of cryostasis, you need to go inside like a thing, right? And then it freezes your cells or whatever. So unless they're freezing the entirety of Limu, which, like, it's full of water and presumably any sort of temperature low enough to induce cryostasis also, like, freezes all the water in the compound. Like, there isn't really a great angle for you to do cryostasis from, right? So the time travel fixes that problem, at least. And it also fixes the motive problem, where now I don't know if it fully fixes the motive problem, but it fixes a lot of my problems I had with motives, just because, like, access to time travel technology, or control of time travel technology, or what have you, is sort of, again, like I said earlier, a fairly compelling motivational factor. What it doesn't explain, like, I still have the problem of not strong enough foreshadowing, though. Like, it's just sort of the kid's weird intuition. Okay, no, never mind. I take it all back. I said that thing earlier about Tsugumi not knowing about future events. But if she says we're gonna die on the 7th day, then that completely contradicts my earlier complaint. So I like time travel a bit more now, but now we get into the issue of what time travel system is the game using, right? Because Tsugumi seems to know something that hasn't happened yet. In fact, all the characters seem... not all the characters, both of the precognition characters, we'll call them, Tsugumi and Kid, have some sort of information about future events. But that's not... sort of... that doesn't fit into the theory that they just jumped forward 15 years. Because it also implies some sort of cyclical thing, or... like, the mechanisms behind the two kinds of time travel would be meaningfully different, right? So, I don't know. I still don't love time travel, but I'm at least willing to accept it now. Somewhere along the line, maybe when you were small, before you can even remember, I'll bet you jumped 15 years in the future. See, now I don't agree with that at all. I think if you're jumping somebody 15 years into the future, then it has to be when Limu went down, right? Because you said that she, like, interacted with her mom as recently as, like, 48 hours ago. So for her mom to die in the interim, it means that the time jump had to be between the last time you saw her mom and present day. Right. You were probably really born 33 years ago. And that would mean if Yoichi died 34 years ago, it all makes sense. Jeez, how many times are you gonna have to say it before you're satisfied? Time travel is a physical impossibility. Just like water flows downhill. But if you use a siphon, you can move water up a hill. That's not what I mean. It's just an example, an analogy. But you're not the only one that's experienced time travel. I did too. But my time travel was different. Yeah, see, this is what I'm getting caught up on now, is the time travel is different. And I think it's probably the reason that I get premonitions about things. I was trapped here in Limu before. How can you be so sure about it? How can you be so absolutely confident about it? Even if, just suppose that you did travel through time. Where's the other kid? The other you? The other me? Life readings, 7. Wait, is that why the life readings are going weird? Like, time travel bullshit? Is that how we're gonna explain everything? I'm not complaining necessarily, but... I remembered on the night of May 1st, when the numbers on the life scan kept changing. Yes, the other you. You're saying that you've been repeating the several days of being trapped here, right? If so, then the past you should be here as well. That's... I know. Only my memory is going back through time. Even though you forgot everything? That's exactly why I've lost my memory. Normally, anything like a memory going back through time would defy common sense. But this time, common sense is being defied. My brain couldn't deal with the situation and started to panic, so it tried to logically explain or deal with the situation. This sounds plausible. In fact, it sounds so plausible, I'm pretty sure it's wrong. Like, you've gotten me on board, and that makes me think you're wrong, right? Like... Also, that doesn't explain the life reading thing. And so it erased all of my memories. I don't mean to take the air out of you after your enthusiastic speech, but we don't call that logical. I'm pretty sure the word is pathological, and sometimes they add the word delusional for good measure. So the day ended without us finding any answers. And to find out if tomorrow will have any answers, you'll have to tune in tomorrow. Because I'm out. Catch y'all later. And have a lovely evening. Or day. Or, you know the drill. Whatever time of day you're having, I'm gonna shut up now.